You're right, and gang, so we've got the 4 commonly known Kei cars in Gran Turismo 7, the Copen, the Cappuccino, the Honda Beat, and the S660. I went in search of something a bit different for the Autopolis 1-hour endurance human comedy race. Check this out. Autopolis for the human comedy 1-hour endurance race in the Kei cars. And I'm in something so incredible on its fuel and tires that I think I can totally change the rulebook on how you do this race. This is a 2-stop race all day long. The fuel and tire consumption is harsh, but I've been something so good that I think I can do this in 1 stop. What am I in? What could I possibly be in that isn't the big 4? It's this. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, the Jimny XC. And it's a beast, an absolute beast. It handles just as well as any other car on this grid, and I'm going to prove it to you. Right, here's the Jimny that I've put together, and what you'll notice is that I've toned down on modifications that increase fuel consumption. So we have things like the polished ports and the engine balance tuning, but stroking up I've avoided through fear of increasing this thing's fuel consumption, because I don't want to tamper with that too much. I want to try and reserve as much power in this Jimny as I can. So I've gone for the height adjustable, things like the height adjustable sort of sport suspension over the racing suspension. So the sports brake pads and the sport brake kit instead of the racing kit, because it hires the PP too much, and I really want to try and keep as much performance in the engine as I can. Of course, we're running the sports soft compound. That's the only compound that you can run in this race, so that's all sorted there. This is going to make things slightly tricky when it comes to a 1-stopper in the race. We've also got the power restrictor and the ballast on there just to fine-tune the performance of this car. I'll just quickly show you the tuning setup for this thing, because you don't need to do a whole lot to it to make it incredible to drive. There we go. The setup sheet is as follows. I've gone 10 mil above the minimums on the body height adjustment there. I can't mess with the anti-roll or the toe angle because we're running that height adjustable sport suspension, but we have tuned ever so slightly the damping ratio and the natural frequency. The rest is pretty much the same. I was so impressed of how it handled just on the settings already implemented into the Jimny. However, I do want to get this thing looking a bit more race car and less Jimny. First thing I'm going to do is increase that wide body. Giving it a wider stance should reduce the body roll of the Jimny, of which there is much body roll. It's a high vehicle for a Kei car, but just widening that stance a little bit will give us hopefully a bit of increased performance. Come on. Changing the wheels is going to increase the PP slightly, but I just cannot run it on these bog standard. I mean, look how thin these things are. There's more. We need more tire to road surface friction to get that increased performance around those corners. Yes, those look brilliant. Those are really good. It almost looks like a G-Wagon there. That's cool. Right, I wanted to just increase the rim diameter so we reduce that tire profile so it doesn't stretch and move around too much on the tarmac surface. So we're going to offset them just a bit, just to give us a bit of a wider track on the Jimny and help reduce that body roll. Right, custom parts. We need to install some custom parts. Type A front bumper or B. B is, that looks like we're going rock climbing, so it's going to have to be Type A. Sides? What does that even adjust? We got some little mud flaps on the back with Type A, and then B gives us a little leg up, which I could probably do with. So I think just for less parts on the car, we're just going to keep it standard for the side, and then the rear, we got to get rid of that rear tire. And there's not too much difference between the bumpers, so I'm just going to go Type B. Roll cage, of course. This is a proper FIA regulated race. We need a full roll cage to comply. Right, let's go racing. This is what we want to do. This is what we've come here for, to try and one-stop the Autopolis Kei car in an unexpected Kei car in the Jimny. This thing is a monster. We're at 404 pp. That is an issue. I'll have that sorted by the time we jump into the race, all right? Don't worry. Righty-ho then, gang. So what we need to do here is, I think if we lean off the fuel, and I need to use sort of less than 10% fuel per lap. I know, riveting stuff. But I want to see if this is possible. So less than 10% fuel we need to use in order to make it half distance. The torque at low end revs in this Jimny that's where all the power is, and that's also going to add to that fuel saving and just make this an absolute beast at going long distance on a full tank. We're at 5% already, and that is not halfway around the lap. This is tight. This is going to be really tight. That's better. We're just creeped into 84%, and we're already probably 2/3 way around the track. So fuel map 3 looks to be the way to go for a little bit. We're still making up positions incredibly easy, just floating past everybody now. They're almost in my way. I'm so much quicker. Oh no, I've really maxed out the revs there. It's just not natural to shift this early. Oh, this car just puts this race into easy mode, I'm telling you. It's the car to use. If you want to use something different, the Jimny is the way to go. I'm just absolutely toying with the top two here. I'm fuel saving to the max. I'm just staying in the slipstream. This race is on easy mode, I'm telling you, with this Jimny. I'm just plodding along, just flicking the gear shift, just saving the fuel. I know, carrying on like this, I'll have a pit stop in hand to those guys, and I'm already about to overtake them. We're at 50% fuel and just over 45 minutes to go in this race. Provided there's no extra lap when the counts down to 0, I should do it. But if there's an extra lap, I am in serious trouble. P2 and 3 have pitted. I just need to stay in my own little world, in my own little bubble, and manage the race effectively, be the team boss, be the team leader, be the driver, be everything. And I'm sure this race can be one-stopped, as long as I just keep an eye on that fuel. And the tyres, let's not forget, because, oh, see, I've just forgotten. They also need to be looked after and massaged and treated with respect, because they're gonna crucify me if I neglect them, I think. I've noticed that laps remaining 1.6. I would love to try and turn that into 2. I've also got a 45-second lead over Gallo. That's been increasing, now 46. So I know I've got the time on Gallo behind, so I can afford to just maybe try and creep an extra lap out of this Jimny if we can. I'm trying so hard to get another lap out of this. We're 1 lap remaining. I need crazy fuel saving to get round another one and back to the pits. This is risky stuff. I don't even need to do this risky of a strategy, but we're going to go for it as soon as we're here. 1 lap remaining. Can I make it back to the pit lane? I kind of needed to do it because we're only at halfway now. That's without the timer running down to 0 and there being another lap on the board. This is tight. Oh my good lord. Right, we've made it back to the pits with 0.4 laps of fuel remaining. That is on target. That's what we want. We're at 0.3, so let's just go a bit steady through the pit lane, ram her through. That's good enough. We're in. Comfort Softs, brand new set of tires. We're going to refuel all the way up and just pray to God that there's not another lap after the timer counts down to 0. We're away. Let's go. Second phase. It's lap 17. I had a 10-second lead. 10-12 second lead to Gallo. He has pitted for the second time. This is a cracking little strategy. I'm not doing anything. I am just touring the track, and I have got a 24-second lead. And as long as I have enough fuel and tires, it's mine. We're going to go for, if we've got enough fuel and tires, we're going to go for a fastest lap at the end of the race, just to see what this Jimny is capable of. So I'm just slowing down here, just to save a bit more fuel, because with the timer on 2 minutes 37 counting down, I want to try and time this so that we've got one lap remaining in this race. I'm going to go for a fastest lap. I've had to get on the throttle here. We've cranked it up to 1, but full power to try and eke out a fastest lap, which we should do. This should be timed brilliantly, I think. Right, so headed down into turn 1. What's the Jimny got then? Heading, just braking before the 50 board marker on the left there. Get on power as early as I dare, not trying to run too much on the grass. Cut this corner just to take as tight a line as possible. Just remembering to shift up those gears to get the maximum torque range. Braking just before that curb. Get all over the curb on the inside, a bit of understeer, looking back to the inside for this double apex corner. I'm going to try and go a bit slower into here so we can stay a tighter on the left there and get a nice, hopefully clip the inside of this hairpin section here early on the throttle coming out of that corner. Short shifting up through the gears. We've got a long left-hander coming up, staying right on the right-hand side edge of the track. Just a slight lift of the throttle just to bring us to that apex. We're going to drift out wide, carrying as much momentum as that through that corner as humanly possible. Really revving out these gears now. We can fully maximize the potential of this car. It's an off-camber hairpin here. It's really hard to get right. I'm not used to going through there so quickly through this race. We've been pootling around so far, but that turned out pretty well. Had to guess the braking zone a bit there. But heading down into a fast right-hander now, where we're going to just short shift down to fourth, tuck it in, chuck it in. Hopefully it sticks, which it does do. And then we're going to slowly apply a bit of brake through this corner just to bring it back to that apex, flat out through this left-hander, which brings us to a tricky section where you want to be on the brakes and turning. Not ideal in most cars, but in the Jimny it works out well. On throttle for the last little bit of the track. That's a full throttle corner, Lou. Why have you lifted there? You really bailed out there. I'm really annoyed at that. We're just going to come off throttle just to bring it back to the apex on the power. I'm hopefully going to round out the human comedy 1 hour of Autopolis. That is a one-stop strategy. We don't want to cross the line. Blimey, that was a bit close. I forgot what I was doing there for a second. If I'd have crossed the line then, I would have been really annoyed. But that's done it. That proves, and may I say, that could be a cracking little strategy. I have done nothing. That was no hard work involved then whatsoever to get that gold. The Jimny is so good on his fuel, so good on his tires. With that race will teach you everything you need to know about fuel saving and tire management, and watching that percentage come down, managing everything. That race is good for that, and is a comfortable win as well, well over a minute, and I didn't even really do anything, so I'm pleased with that. The Jimny is a hit for me. There it is, a bit of confirmation. 1 minute and 2 second lead over Gallo. The easiest human comedy race that I've attempted so far of the 3 that I've done now. The Jimny, brilliant little car. Didn't know it was a K car, but I'm learning things every day. Right, thanks for watching, guys. I know this was a different one to the projects that I usually put out there, but thanks for sticking with me, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers, guys. Bye.